Hello and welcome to Davis and Davis on Davis and Davis, the podcast where we watch films and TV made by or starring two people with the name Davis.
Last episode we finished watching Series 12 of Taskmaster, which starred Alan Davis as a contestant and Greg Davis as the Taskmaster.
So now we've decided to jump back all the way to 2001 to watch the first episode of Bob and Rose, also starring Alan Davis and created by Russell T Davies of Doctor Who fame.
And joining us on this first instalment is someone who knows a lot about Russell T, so much that he has his own podcast all about the man. It's Zach Copeland-Green.
Hello, Owen. So happy to be here today.
Well, without further ado, let's get into the episode. Zach, you okay? You okay? You dozed off a little.
Yeah, I just what was going on? What were we doing?
Oh, we're watching the first episode of Bob and Rose. But joining us today is Owen of the amazing YouTube channel Or Owen, and also TikTok.
Hi guys, happy to be here. Thank you for having me on.
We are so happy to have you on this first episode of our brand new season of the Davis on Davis podcast. With season 2, we got recommissioned by the Imaginary Channel.
Wow, that doesn't even happen to Russell all the time. So.
I just want to clarify. That bit that we just did, was that supposed to mean me dreaming of being some sort of Russell T Davies expert?
Yeah.
You must think I have really narcissistic dreams.
No, I just think you because you always have the trivia for fun facts.
Okay. Well, are you ready for some fun facts for you
I'm
today?
so ready.
But before we get into that, Owen, do you want to tell us a bit about what you do?
Yeah. Oh god, I did not prepare anything before. I make videos on YouTube and TikTok about all kinds of things. On YouTube, I do video essays about film and TV, and that's why I've been invited on as an expert, of course, as someone who knows everything there is to know about film and TV. I have no formal qualifications in this. We can leave it there. That's my intro.
There's a certain irony that because for me, I don't know if this is a label that you want to have clung to you, but I associate you with Doctor Who content.
Yeah, no, I know that is definitely. I've done that myself. I do make videos about other things, but yeah, no, I do enjoy making the Doctor Who videos, and there is another one coming as a teaser.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, is that exclusive?
No, that's an exclusive for the podcast.
The videos of yours that resonate with me most are like, this is obviously gay.
I want to do another one of those, but I need to find a film to do it about that hasn't been too touched on.
Yeah, it's funny. My sister's favourite film, or one of her favourites, is American Psycho. And so I told her, yeah, there's this video where a guy is asking, is this movie gay? And then it so obviously is, and the book is so obviously gay that he's like, how do I fill the time, even though the answer is such an obvious yes, and it's not that deep.
Literally, it could have been a 5-second video.
I only brought up Doctor Who just to cling to the irony of sort of this podcast prime directive is that we don't talk about Doctor Who. And so yeah, Louis and I are massive. I mean, I don't know if you can see, Louis, on my blurred background, I have a massive Doctor Who poster.
Oh yeah, I can see the blurred logo, yeah.
And then the irony of, I think of your the politics of the Chibnall era video. That's what sticks in my head about your content. But yeah, no, we're not allowed to talk about Doctor Who. We're drawing a line under all the Who chat.
This will be the longest I go ever without talking about Doctor Who.
Well, I mean, we have a rule we don't talk about Doctor Who, but once you learn the rule, you can then break it. Isn't that the rule of design?
I have one note when I wrote down my notes for this episode, is that Russell likes to reuse names a lot. The title of this thing is already, yeah.
No joke.
Yes.
Yeah, of course, that famous Doctor Who character, Bob.
Yeah.
The robot.
Imagine if we know we said no Who chat, but imagine if you rebooted a science fiction classic and episode 1 was Bob by Russell T Davies.
I think that would have grabbed attention.
Maybe that'll be
episode 1 of the new season.
Yeah. It's Bob.
Now we have a doctor that likes to go to nightclubs.
I mean, I'm talking about Who too much. There's a rumoured title that's one letter off Bob. I will say that, but it's not by Russell.
Oh yeah, I did see that. Yeah,
So,
boo. They're really pushing the envelope now.
Oh no, so I can't spell.
This is what happens when you're on Disney Plus.
Oh, I can't spell what?
Knob.
Fantastic. Right, I'm drawing the line. I'm drawing the line. No more chatting about Doctor Who.
I've never seen it, so I don't.
Let's talk about A Rose by any other the same name.
A Bob by any other name.
It's episode 1 of. It's that was the worst transition ever. Let's talk about Bob and Rose.
Let's.
Woohoo! Before we begin, I had a note to our lovely listeners. Bob and Rose is almost essentially lost media. It's not lost media because all three of us have been able to watch the first episode together. But it aired in 2001 on ITV1, and I don't think was ever rerun. It's never gone on any streaming service. It was released on DVD, and I've managed to I'll do a DVD.
Yeah, Zach has purchased a DVD, and we have gone round to his house in Manchester to watch it personally.
Yeah, personally, it was a great time. I think it was very briefly on ITVX, like at one point, like a couple of years ago. Yeah, like because I looked this up, and I remember Russell tweeting about it. It was something to do with like the music licenses, but they managed to clear it for like a very short window of time on ITVX, like 2 years ago.
There's a little note on the back of the DVD that says, "These two DVD discs do not contain the same music soundtrack as originally broadcast on ITV1." So they clearly, I don't know, I want to know what needle drops they had to sort of warrant the original version of it being lost media.
Just so much Michael Jackson, really expensive to clear nowadays.
Yeah, it was all Beatles songs.
But apparently you can buy music from the television series on CD, or at least you could when this DVD came out. I don't know when it came out. I got it secondhand because I love the planet.
If you could get a first-hand DVD copy of Bob and Rose, that would be a pretty big achievement these days, I think.
No, that's all I got to say before we begin this beautiful DVD. I'll do a bit more ASMR for the listener. I don't know if this is a pleasant sound at all, but I love the sound of
cracking yeah.
DVD. Anyway.
Right, we'll see if that comes through on the edit. So, let's set the scene. We're in a bar.
Oh wait, can we talk about the intro first before we even get to the intro of the episode?
Oh, actually, no, you're right. I think I did have a comment on the music that it was like, I was like, it's very gentle. It's like...
I wrote it's giving Windows Movie Maker is what I put in my notes. It's very like... It's quite low rent.
It's definitely the same VFX people that did Curious Folk.
Yeah, it was... It's like spinning around, and then by the end you see a cityscape.
And the end credits is that's even more... you remember on Windows Media Player, and you could change the settings so that you could see a visualization of your music?
That's exactly,
I think the end credits look like that, yeah. But no, it's because it's Bob and Rose. It was also produced by Nicholas Schindler and Red Production Company. So obviously there's been a lot of the same turnover of staff, and they've thought, ooh, it's kind of a spiritual successor to Curious Folk in a way. Let's just throw the same graphics style at it.
But this time it's on ITV.
Yeah.
And actually I realised that this does form the first instalment of sort of a bit of a trilogy of shows, which I'm going to call the early 2000s RTV ITV trilogy. Very catchy name.
The RTDU.
And it's quite... We'll get to it, but I think it being on ITV versus Channel 4 is an important thing to note, but I won't get ahead of ourselves because...
Oh, actually, also, fun fact, apparently this inspired Jules and Mimi from Sex and the City, the British TV show, that one of them gets obsessed with, but I can't remember which, because I was only ever watching my sister watching Sex and the City, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, I heard about that, yeah.
That's gone straight over my head.
Okay, do you know Sex and the City?
Yeah, I know Sex and the City, I've never seen it.
Yeah, I mentioned that there's an episode where one of them, Samantha, tries to feed her lover, her hookup or whoever, food to make his semen taste better. That's that show.
Right.
Oh, well, we haven't even gotten to the actual episode yet. We're talking. That's the sort of conversation we're engaging in.
Well, I mean, this episode is pretty sexless, so we gotta get our semen chat somewhere, you know.
That's true. Honestly, in terms of like ITV dramas these days, it's like kind of raunchy by like today's standards. Russell was horny in like the early years.
This is what I think. If this was on Channel 4, just like Queer as Folk, I think we see one shot of bum in this episode, and I think that's an. I was reading a Guardian review that came out just after this did, and that seemed to think that it was toned down by ITV.
Yeah, I think I agree. If it was on Channel 4, there would have been like extended sex scenes.
Yeah, exactly.
Now,
Exactly.
let's get into the episode.
Let's actually crack on.
So, we see these two scenes play out in parallel. One of them is in a bar, and one of them is in a gay bar. So, immediately we're expanding our scope from Queer as Folk by including heterosexual clientele.
Finally, some representation for straight bars.
I was going to say, Leo, I don't like this heteronormative discussion that a bar is by. If you just say bar, it's a straight bar. I think it should be a straight bar and a gay bar. Because if you say bar, I'm going to think gay bar.
Okay,
I've been conditioned.
let's do that. No. You know what? You're right. You've won me over.
So we got straight bar and a gay bar.
Gay bar, and then
we'll see how long we can keep this bit up.
Louis, you know, there are three of us in this room. There's someone that's going to challenge you for the role of my co-host, okay?
Okay.
They only need one Davis on this podcast.
No, you're right. You're right.
Going to call you out. If I call you out enough for sort of imagined homophobia, I'll take over as the Davis on the podcast.
But I think it is worth pointing out that it's a straight, like emphasizing that it's a straight bar, because this is where we meet Rose of Bob and Rose fame for the first time, and she's at the bar trying to buy some pints, and it's rowdy. It's full of men. And I have in capital letters on my notes, the look on her face is, oh my God, I hate men. Because this guy that comes up, she gets served before her, she's got to squeeze past all these rowdy men, and then when she gets back to the table, she's the one woman among this group of men, all dressed as young schoolgirls. It's just everything screaming, oh my God, this poor woman stuck in this straight bar, surrounded by sort of all this testosterone. Yeah,
that seems like to be the vibe of the episode, is that every straight man she encounters is kind of like, and then Bob is like the one guy.
Yeah.
And there's obviously a reason.
Because we cut to the gay bar, and there's such a juxtaposition, because the sort of even the sound design changed. It's quieter, there's just a bit of music, there is zero dialogue, it's just Bob bringing a drink to this guy, them just sort of looking at each other. You realise that there's something going on. Meanwhile, you cut back to Rose in the straight bar, and her boyfriend, dressed as a schoolgirl, lifts up his skirt and flashes what I can only presume is a hen night. It's just absolute chaos.
Oh my God, I thought he was dressed as like a German woman.
Yeah.
Because, you know, Germans love their beer and just,
like in the Lederhosen.
I think it's like a German-made schoolgirl thing. It's like, do you remember when Mel at Eurovision last year was churning butter on screen?
Yeah, it's like with the pigtails and stuff.
That's what I think they're dressed as. I think it's a specific reference to Eurovision in 2 decades' time.
Oh yeah, I do remember that.
Look, if you want to one day write a time travel show, you have to get used to a bit of time travel.
He's such a visionary, Russell, that he was like, no, trust me, in 2023 this will go insane.
He was on that grind set. Yeah.
That's the first instance of the rule being broken. Can we mention Rose's last name as well? If we're going to talk about Russell like reusing names for everything.
Yeah.
So her name is Rose Cooper, which technically I won't break the rule because I'm mentioning Torchwood rather than that's a loophole.
Yes, of course. I was trying to remember like which character is Cooper, and all I could think of was Mike Cooper from Ghosts.
Yeah. And of course we got to talk about Gossage, Bob Gossage, obviously.
Of course, that was the surname, yeah.
Of Bob Gossage fame, and I don't know where that's going. That's such a random surname that he pulled out there for Bob.
I know.
No.
Has he ever used that again?
I don't think anyone else on the planet has ever had that last name.
What is a gossage? Is that where you like grow goslings or something?
It's where you gossip with a cabbage, I think. Is my understanding.
You go to the gossage to hear its wisdom.
Apparently, there is actually a Gossage family, and they are a family of soap makers.
Oh, our apologies to the Gossage family for making fun of their last name.
Like Corrie or the stuff you wash your hands with.
The stuff you wash your hands with. I don't know if that's like a semi-homophobic joke.
Why would...
Because soap.
I can't believe Russell would be homophobic. That's so messed up of him.
Do straight people not use soap? Is that the...
No, okay, no. Louis, go away, think about it, and then it'll hit you at 2 a.m. tonight.
Soap. We need to commit a homophobic slight. That's a Call of Duty reference.
That's for our COD fans in the audience. It's a very slight overlap, Bob and Rose and COD fans, but I'm sure there are a few.
So anyway, they leave the bars, and Bob has scored. He's picked up someone, and so he jumps into a taxi with his date. But Rose actually leaves on her own. She says bye to her boyfriend. She's like, see you tomorrow. she's not happy with his behavior. She's she's starting to have a revelation about men and how they all suck.
And it's only going to get worse.
Oh yeah, God! Not to spoil the upcoming scene, but I was like, wow, this is a bit of a tonal shift.
So, we now need the meet cute to happen. We need both of their evenings to go wrong so that they can end up meeting each other. And for Bob, for our gay man, it's something which we've gotten pretty used to now on the podcast. It's a hookup that goes wrong. Taylor's old as time. He gets to the guy's place. The guy reveals he has a boyfriend. And Bob, this is interesting. Bob isn't annoyed that he doesn't care that someone's cheating. He doesn't care about that. But he does care that he seduced him by talking about his supposedly dead boyfriend.
It's also the way he finds out, which is weird with the note on it that says monkey on it.
Oh yeah, the monkey thing.
The guy tries to pass it off as a work thing.
It said XXX, like 3 kisses. So I was like, is he like a porn star?
That was my first thought. I thought that was like a sign that he'd hold up on cam or something.
I thought he was like a cam, like an e-boy.
Well, exactly. It was just, there are so many different ways that he could reveal that this guy has a boyfriend. And this monkey XXN thing came just so out of left field, I thought.
Monkey.
Is that taken directly from Russell's personal? Who's running it on a big? It's like a big sheet of A4 as well that someone's written monkey kiss 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 on, and he's just got lying around his bedroom.
Yeah.
We shouldn't judge these guys. This guy, the guy's called Stefan, I believe.
Yes.
We shouldn't judge his relationship with his boyfriend. Well, I mean, maybe we should, because clearly it's on the rocks that his boyfriend goes away for the weekend, and straight away he's trying to bring other men home.
No, yeah, literally, you're gay. You can just agree to be open.
Yeah.
It's more socially acceptable than among straight people.
Unless maybe Stefan's boyfriend was like, I don't want to be in an open relationship, and there's untold tension here,
That's true. Maybe.
Again, I feel like some of these shows are so quick to point fingers at back, but there's whole other stories in these people.
Well, if you ever get a machine that can save a copy of Russell's mind to trawl through, then you'll be able to answer those questions. Yeah. So anyway, he leaves Stefan's place, and because Stefan is a fictional character, he ceases to exist forever until the end of time. So.
Damn, another gay buried.
Yeah.
Why would Russell do this?
Meanwhile, Rose is in a taxi, but it's not a taxi. It's one of those private hire vehicles.
I was wondering, is it unlicensed?
I think the implication is, from a comment she makes later in the episode, that it's one of those private hire vehicles that you have to call through the operator, but it's picked her up off the street rather than gone through the operator. Because if you ever sit in an Uber or another taxi service that you can get through an app, and it will say not insured unless booked through the operator, that's to imply that in a black cab, you can't just pick someone up on the street, and this guy does just pick her up on the street. So that's sort of the first sign that this guy's dodgy. The second sign that he's dodgy is that he starts talking about how he knows the right bones in the feet to make a woman climax within, what was it? How many minutes did he say?
It's 5 or something, I think.
5 minutes.
He was ahead of a curve in terms of being into feet,
you were talking about the contrast between the straight and the gay bars, and then the contrast gets so much harsher. You've got Bob, who has not a great encounter, but ultimately still quite a kind of light-hearted, I found a piece of paper with monkey on it. And then you have Rose, who's in danger of getting sexually assaulted.
I don't know if it's technically an attempted kidnapping, but she almost gets kidnapped.
I say legally I think it's an attempted kidnapping.
Okay, good. Yeah, then there we go. This is not a real guy, so we're not libeling him, but yes, he tries to kidnap her.
This is the first 10 minutes. I don't think it's even it's the 6-minute mark or something where this has happened.
So she's saying, let me out. And he's like, no. And so she has managed to reach into the front, and I don't know, does she put her hands over his eyes or something?
I think she's just very forceful.
Yeah.
I get the impression it's shocking to us, but then I don't think we have there's no cis female voices in this echo chamber that we've created on this podcast right now. I get the impression from the way that Rose deals with the situation that this is not a this is a bad, an extreme scenario, but it's not something that's out of the realm of possibility for her in her day-to-day life, that in the middle of the night she'd get in a taxi and the driver would be a real creep. So I think she's, just as we see her having to be forceful in the bar beforehand, she's learnt to be forceful with creeps like this, unfortunately.
Again, it's that continuing thread of her, every straight man she meets being a complete POS.
Yeah. Absolutely.
What I do love is that she manages to not like have to pay him any money.
He tries to charge her like
10 quid.
something ridiculous. Yeah, but for like a 5-minute journey.
Yeah, so she's like, it's £3.50 and you're not even getting that.
Well, I'm going to say this as someone who's very familiar with Manchester. From Deansgate to Withington nowadays is definitely a tenner, if not more. And this just it makes me wish that I'll say I was alive in 2001. I was born in 2001. It makes me wish for the days that trip was £3.50.
Oh God, yeah, I would.
I wasn't shocked at all when he said that was a tenner. I was shocked more at the fact that you could go anywhere in a cab for £3.50. I think the second you walk through the door now, it's a fiver.
Oh God, yeah. As someone who lives near London and has taken taxis there, yeah, it's down the street is like 20.
So now she's on the street walking, and then Bob is also on the street walking. And they end up walking down the same pavement. Now, Bob's having to tie his laces, which means we end up in this scenario where he's walking directly behind her. And we already, because of the tone of that taxi interaction, we already know that she's wary of every straight man, as you say, Owen. Bob does kind of like a smart thing, and he crosses the road as if to signal, oh, I know it's a bit odd that I'm walking behind a woman in the middle of the night. Let me just give her some space. At least I hope that was his thinking.
One thing that's interesting is basically, so you're in the middle of the night trying to get from one suburb to another suburb. If you're a gay man, it's not hard to figure out why that is. But I think the only way you're doing it as a straight woman in the universe of this show is if you've had to escape a creepy taxi driver, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, it is. It does tend to be only gay men who sort of go out in the middle of the night for like a good reason.
Yeah. But yeah, they get to the main road. They're both trying to hail taxis, and I think there's 2 taxis and they both sort of drive past. So Bob, once again, doing some goodwill, is like, if a taxi shows up, then you can have the first one, which is quite cute.
I thought it was going to be like that they have to share a taxi. Ooh. They end up home together. They do not.
First you think, they might share a taxi, but while they're waiting for a taxi to come, they do share some cigarettes, which I'm not a smoker, but there is nothing hotter than sharing a cigarette. I'm just stating a fact there. That's
true. As someone who also doesn't smoke, you're bang on, unfortunately.
Like, you just see it and you're like, oh yeah, okay.
It's a very, again, having read The Writer's Tale, knowing how like heavy of a smoker Russell is, and the way that smoking features in all of his stuff, I'm sure he's well aware of how hot smoking is as well.
And also, I think how I'm not a smoker, but I do exist on the fringes of smokers. So I have smoked a cigarette. Let's hope my mum doesn't listen to this podcast. I have smoked a cigarette probably once a year in the past 4 years. There's this weird sort of, it breaks not social norms. Like, I've heard stories of people who have got into strangers' cars to smoke a cigarette to escape from the cold. I've seen with my own eyes people stop cars in the middle of the street and rush out to us and say, have you got a lighter? I saw you've just got a lighter, can you light my cigarette for me? And then rush back into the car and let the traffic go. So I sort of, the smoking changes these social norms. And so the fact that in this scene, Rose is very cautious of Bob. He then does apologise for being creepy and stays away. She sees that he's smoking, says she doesn't smoke, and then it cuts them. They're now standing next to each other from standing far away, because now he's given her a cigarette, and how cigarettes can change social dynamics, and how if Bob wasn't a smoker, I don't think this series would have happened. I don't think this series of events would have led to each other.
In the 2020s reboot, he's hitting an elf bar. And she asks for...
And then, so maybe I say this a lot, but I absolutely love this conversation, this dialogue that comes next. It has to be, I think, some of my favourite RTD dialogue, because it just feels so real that they've just discussed where they've been. They talk about this one bar that plays country and western. They just have this really honest conversation about liking country and western music and their music choices, and then how...
Yeah, I was wondering, do people call it country and western? That feels like calling it hip-hop/rap.
I think, yeah, western is quite... I imagine just calling something like western music.
So what? So not, Arabian kind of microtonal...
I love western music, and you put on, like, Take That or something. As you were saying about the dialogue, it's interesting, like I wrote down in my notes that there's kind of a lack of utility. I think in sort of like modern day dramas, it's everything has to kind of serve a purpose. It has to have like kind of a plot thing. Like it would be moving a lot quicker, but in like a drama like this, they are kind of allowed to just talk. They are just chatting about something that's not really like that relevant. It's not going to like necessarily come up later and inform the plot. They are just kind of allowed to breathe and be people and be characters, and that makes it feel like very real. I do like that, and I think it's the sort of thing, I don't want to say it's like died out completely, but I don't think if you were commissioning this sort of drama now that they would be able to get away with that kind of more kind of slow moving, less structured dialogue.
Yeah. And then by the time a taxi does come, immediately like the tone has sort of lightened a bit, and Rose is like, oh no, let's split this taxi, where are you going? You should know, Zach.
She lives in Withington.
Withington, yes. And then Bob is in
Wally Range.
Wally Range, yeah.
Which, as he states, is a bit of a way from Withington.
So, it's maybe it's not a one taxi job. Maybe you do need two taxis going in the opposite direction, one to Bal and one to Catford. But then another taxi shows up, so that little spark kind of gets snuffed out.
Until they both...
They have a...
Oops, sorry.
No, I was going to say a nice little moment where they slide up against each other.
Yes. No, the taxis do come back in, and then they're like waving each other, and then they sort of open a window. Bob shouts to Rose, give up the fags. Yeah, let's see how that goes.
I was like, what an insane line. Imagine like an American like hearing that line, like give up the fags.
Do you think that? I think there is a double entendre there.
Yeah, maybe.
The whole show is about this straight woman falling in love with a gay man that she can't. I think there's something there.
Yeah, no, obviously.
No, okay.
I just wanted to do the snarky comment of, yeah, let's see how that goes.
Okay, fair enough. I will say, so this is my first bit of behind-the-scenes trivia that I garnered from the writer's tale.
Oh, okay.
This image, this was the first ad break. You can't tell because we watched it on DVD. The first ad break ends with these two taxis going down these two different streets, and Bob and Rose is sort of, they separate, never to see each other ever again. And apparently that was the first image that Arthur T had in his head when writing the show. And, quote, it sums up the whole show, the randomness of it, that 2 a.m. emptiness out of which two people can make a connection.
Wow. He has a thing for coming up with images and writing shows around them.
Yeah.
But we're not allowed to mention every example.
We're not allowed to talk about Sarah Jane Adventures.
Is that a joke, or was that also based on an image?
No, I don't know. I was to say, we can talk about the spin-offs of the show that will not be named.
Right, yeah.
Because a lot of people tell you shouldn't write like that. You shouldn't have an image in your head and try and work towards an image. But he does, and it works.
Skill issue.
Yeah.
Exactly. I
guess it's like, because he came up from kind of writing soaps, and that's a lot of that is based on quite kind of big images and shot cliffhangers and things like that. So maybe that's... I'm just trying to sort of decode how his writing brain works.
That's all about the hook before the ad break.
Yeah, exactly.
I did a storylining workshop with an ex-producer of Corrie a couple of weeks ago, and in prep for that I basically sat and binged 4 episodes of Corrie because I'm not a soap fan.
Wow, that's almost an omnibus.
Oh god, yeah, remember when they used to put on it for our younger viewers, omnibus is when they used to put like loads of episodes on TV instead of just on streaming.
Wasn't it like for 5 of that week there'd be like weekdays, and then on Sunday you get the omnibus, and it's the past 5 episodes.
Yeah, but I haven't heard the word omnibus in years. I don't know if they even do they even do them anymore.
No, and they don't.
Maybe I'm more familiar with the word omnibus because I'm a transport nerd. So.
I think because now they're all on ITVX.
Yeah.
The linear omnibus is redundant, but it's incredible how I started watching the first of the 3 that I sat and watching, going, this is crap. This is the worst telly I've ever seen in my entire life. And then by the end of the 3rd episode, someone brought out a ring, and I audibly went, oh, I don't know, something about those hooks at the end just really. They really got me. I know this is really tangential. Tangential.
Soap. We need to form parasocial relationships with these characters.
So no, you're absolutely right, Owen. You're coming after my job as well.
Yeah, that'll be my one clever thought for the podcast. I'll just sit here in silence for the rest of it.
Yeah. So after the imagined ad break that we didn't have, we cut to Rose the following morning in the kitchen eating cereal with this random young boy, and you can kind of tell I've got queer as folk brain rot because I immediately presumed, oh my god, Stuart slept with another minor.
God,
he's more visibly minor than Nathan. Let's not forget.
Yeah. To be clear to our viewers, this is like a 12-year-old.
Well, I thought, single mum. That was my first thought. I think that's supposed to be your first thought, is single mum.
He does have a thread, Russell, of the sort of quite quirky single mum daughter relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this is a boy, so
Yeah.
so immediately something's up.
And it turns out that she asked this boy who he is, and I think it was the "Who are you, Dean? Nice to meet you, Dean," that made me go, okay, why is this random boy in a house? Oh, it's the morning after, he must have slept with someone. Which are so off the mark.
So it turns out that at first I thought this was like her housemate because they look kind of similar age, but
They do.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, actually.
that's actually her mum. She has a MILF, terrible affliction.
As in, that's the woman that Rose lives with is her mum. It's not that Dean, the boy is not Rose's mum.
No, so that is her mum's boyfriend's son, and she's saying that like the boyfriend is trying to finalize the divorce from his wife. So by the sounds of it, if all goes to plan, then Dean will be her brother-in-law, stepbrother.
Yeah. Not that Rose or her mum seem particularly excited about the idea of Dean, full stop. We cut to Rose going to work, and her mum runs out with a little chocolate bar that she says it's the last one in the cupboard. It can be for 11sies. And again, I've not heard anyone talk about 11sies for a very long time.
Yeah.
If ever. And also it's one of those random things that obviously there was an ulterior motive of bringing out that chocolate bar because she wanted to give the audience / Rose the important discussion about Trevor wants to move in with Rose's mum, and Rose has briefly mentioned the fact that her boyfriend briefly mentioned moving in together. So there's sort of this push of, you should move in with your boyfriend and let my boyfriend move in with me. And you've got 2 weeks, by the way, because his lease runs out in 2 weeks. So there's drama, there's tension.
No, there's real tension.
She's not happy in her relationship, but there's a pressure to formalise her relationship a little bit more.
Shock horror. Meanwhile, Bob arrives at so it turns out he's a teacher. He works at school, and also Dean is also dropped off of that school. And I was wondering if that would go somewhere. These two like people crossing paths. I was like, oh, is this going to mean they cross paths again? It doesn't. It's just a fun transition.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, I think it's like brief. I guess maybe in a future episode. I don't know.
Who knows? We'll see. And then we meet. So when she was first introduced, I was like, oh, is this going to be my favourite character? But we'll get to that. We meet Holly, who is played by the wonderful Jessica Hines. And immediately I've noticed that like this show has more people I recognise from other stuff.
I don't think... Have we mentioned yet that Bob is Alan... No, wait, no, of course we have. That Bob is Alan Davis.
Yes.
As much the conceit, yeah.
So immediately we've got Alan Davis, Jonathan Creek, the guy from QI. Yeah, we've got Leslie Sharp, who was in that one episode of Doctor Who that was very good.
The one thing on a CV.
My question to you guys is, if we briefly talk about Alan Davis as Bob for a moment, this Guardian article, this Guardian review I said, mentioned the fact that so many people think... No, it wasn't the Guardian review. It was RTD in the Writer's Tale mentioned that some people called it the worst casting decision of the century.
Really?
And when I first started watching it, went, it is a weird choice. It's a bit out of left field. I'm not expecting Alan Davis to be playing a gay man. What did you guys think?
Well, I mean, I think he is straight, isn't he, Alan Davis? To my knowledge.
Yeah, but so are like the three leads of Queer as Folk.
Exactly.
I have, for some stupid reason, I don't know why, I have less issue believing the three Queer as Folk protagonists than I do Alan Davis. That's the only thing. Maybe it's because he's more famous now than the other three in Queer as Folk.
But yeah, maybe. I'd say a present day Alan Davis, I might have like a harder time believing. But I don't know, 2001 Alan Davis, I buy him as gay.
It works.
But, yeah.
Yeah, gays are allowed to be a bit boring. Let gays be boring.
I was going to say, he's just a dull gay man. That's fine.
Sarah Jessica Hines. What?
I know.
Wow, what casting.
Just great and everything. So we turn it into the Jessica Hines podcast, just temporarily.
Let's actually do that.
No, because I have a pitch. She was in the recent W1A sketch for Comic Relief. And all I'm going to say...
She was also in W1A just the whole show, so yeah.
Well, exactly. She's my favourite part of W1A, and she made a reprisal in the recent Comic Relief sketch. All I'm going to say is, underused. For me, best part of W1A, she had like 2 lines in this 7-minute sketch. Just going to leave it there.
And there was another show she was in, I don't remember, some time travel show. I didn't watch it.
She's like the gossip bestie.
Yeah.
She's the exposition bestie.
And she's telling... I almost called him David because we've just been talking Alan Davis, but I literally got the DVD right next to my face where it says Bob and Rose to remind me that the main characters are called Bob and Rose. She's telling Bob that this supply teacher that we've just seen Bob eyeing up in the car park, it's his last day and he's got an offer to go work permanently at a school in Sheffield. Now, in a moment, we'll see Bob talk to said teacher and he will mention Sheffield, and the teacher will have absolutely no idea what Bob is on about. Now, when I first watched that, I thought, oh, this supply teacher's playing it cool. But then it occurred to me that no, Holly was telling a big fat porky, and she just made that up.
Oh my god.
A toxic Holly.
Because, like, when I was watching Interactions, my mind was just, is he gay, is he gay, is he gay? So I didn't even pick up. But yeah, no, you're right, because we'll get to that.
I also didn't pick up on that yet.
So is he, like, leaving for good that evening then, or not?
The implication of this car park conversation is that his contract has come to an end because whoever was sick is coming back. And he's basically sticking around the area, and he'll say, oh, I hope someone else gets ill, because then I can come back and do more work and I'll get to see you again. I think he's still just staying around the Manchester supply teacher circuit.
Yeah, there's some really good up-and-coming supply teachers on the Manchester supply teacher circuit. You know, everyone talks about the London supply teacher circuit, but actually Manchester's got some great talent in it.
The supply teacher leagues.
As someone who's, been a service user of Manchester supply teachers growing up, I can vouch for that. Whilst we're on the topic, I don't think this supply teacher gets a name. I didn't catch her name at all.
Oh my god, I didn't even notice.
I was just like, maybe there's a name, maybe we just don't know, can't remember it, because we were always so terrible with names on this podcast.
Yeah,
No, exactly.
Now that you brought it up, I'm like, yeah, actually, I don't think he does.
I've got Bob, Rose, and Holly so far, and that's what I'm sticking with. Everyone else is someone's mum or their profession.
Exactly. Yeah. Or Dean.
Or Dean. I've already forgotten who Dean was.
Who's crucially not a dean. He's a kid.
Whilst we're on the supply teacher, just finish off the conversation they had in the car park. So Bob, at the end of the school day, Bob and the supply teacher have a conversation, and it's all very much of, oh, I'm so sad you're leaving, oh, I wish we could have gone out for a drink. And then supply teacher goes, hey, we still could grab a beer tonight. And Bob agrees, and they agree to go to the straightest bar on Canal Street for a beer. And we see Bob update Holly. And Bob still, he doesn't know, is this guy that he sort of fancies, is he gay, is he straight? So he says, Holly, come with me, because Canal Street is so straight these days.
That's a very relatable experience that Russell has written as well. Even today, trying to work out if someone is gay or not, and using like the most kind of surface level criteria. To work it, I think like at one point they're like trying to work it out based on like music taste and things like this, and they're like there's the debates they're having of the most like granular stuff to work out someone's sexuality, so you know if you can like hit on them. Definitely like very universal.
If someone's drink of choice is a beer or a pink gin.
Yeah, exactly.
Not that anyone ever says let's grab a pink gin.
Yeah.
Also, I love that like it's established that basically like almost saying to the audience, hey, if you come here from Queer as Folk, there's a rule change that you need to know about, and that is that Canal Street has been kind of colonized by the straights a bit. It's not as 100%, definitively gay as it was depicted in Queer as Folk. Now you can go to Canal Street and still be straight, and there's a bit of ambiguity, and I thought that was interesting. Passage of time from like the 1 year since we last saw the RTD cinematic universe.
Is that still true nowadays? I've never been to Canal Street.
I suppose everyone's looking at me.
We are.
I was asking our resident expert.
I think it's one of those debates where things were always better in the past.
Yeah,
I think people always think that. I still hear discussions of, and this not just Canal Street, but sort of queer club nights in general, of this, not to be misogynistic and say and point finger at straight girls, but there's this sort of image that, oh my god, gay clubs are just full of straight girls.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't want to perpetuate that narrative, but that's sort of the discussion, and I think it's one of those things that isn't necessarily true.
Yeah, that's definitely what I hear.
Even in Queer as Folk, in the finale of the first season,
yes,
Nathan's big thing is calling out the homophobic guy that comes to impress a girl.
Yeah.
As in comes to the club, not the other kind of coming.
He comes to look modern and metropolitan.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Canal Street being this exotic place for straight people to go, I think has always existed, and always will, unfortunately.
Yeah, but let's stop talking about the gays, because we need to catch up with Rose. What's she up to?
She's making that complaint about the private hire vehicle. So she's in the office. She's not working. She's multitasking.
Where does she work? I couldn't working, and she at a computer, but there seems to be like factory kind of stuff going on, like in the window behind her.
And she can look up people's addresses, so I was wondering if there was like some sort of council thing.
Oh.
Yeah, it looks like almost like she works in like the foreman's office of a foundry or something.
But also, she works on Saturdays, so I thought, okay, this must be a council thing. Because if it was like a private enterprise, they would just not work on weekends, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
It also is interesting because we see what I can only presume is her youngest employee, her new hire, crying in the corner. It's only Donna from Queer as Folk.
It's Donna. Donna is back.
Oh, it is. I didn't even clock.
What is this, 2023? Because Donna is back.
Donna is back.
No, when you said Donna, my first thought was Catherine Tate's not in this. Well,
No. It's Donna from Queer as Folk. I mean, she's never named. I don't even think she's uncredited, I believe. So I'm just going to say Bob and Rose and Queer as Folk exist in the same RTD CU.
They both exist in the fictional universe of Manchester.
Yeah.
They're a couple years apart, so Donna is now old enough to be a receptionist store.
And to have boy trouble, and it's not Nathan trouble for once in her life. No, I love that. I love the fact that because oh my god, I've forgotten her name, but the actress that plays Donna, she couldn't come back for Queer as Folk 2, and she was supposed to be in the Queer as Folk spin-off, but then Channel 4 cancelled that after commissioning it, and so it was sort of almost like, okay, we'll come and have a couple of seconds on screen. I just threw a pen at my mic by accident, so I apologise if in the edit there's a really loud noise.
Yeah, I do apologise. I did accidentally whack my mic once or twice.
I'm going to edit in the bonk horny jail sound there.
So to go back to the point you make, she does just start abusing whatever power she has of looking up people's addresses to start this journey of stalking Bob.
Is it a specific part? I thought it was like a sort of Yellow Pages thing. I thought, to me, it looked like almost like a private website, like one that probably didn't even exist then, but that Russell was like, oh, I need some way for her to find him. Like,
No, yeah, maybe. I thought it was something kind of internal because you can't do that, you know.
That's true. Yeah.
Maybe it was like Napster, but instead of music piracy, it was doxing.
Rose does essentially dox Bob.
Technically, it's phishing if you gather the information but don't spread it.
That's true.
There does seem to be a plot thread, not a plot thread, but a theme carried over from Queer as Folk where I seem to recall there being some stalking in Queer as Folk, that characters are okay with pushing people's private boundaries and just turning up into places. She gets his information and then she acts upon it because the next scene we see her turn up at Bob's house.
Yeah, which is that's criminal behaviour.
And she calls his landline but realises that he's not in. So she realises, okay, maybe this is a bit weird, I'm going to get back in my car and go. And I've been saved by the bell, by the fact that he's not in. At which moment, he comes home.
I love it, like, she does the call to, like, check it's real, you know?
Yeah, she doesn't just knock on his door or something.
I wonder what would have happened if she'd answered the phone.
She doesn't really have a plan.
She just, like, listened to his voice of Alan Davis going, who is that? What is this? Yeah.
The sweet dulcet tones of Alan Davis.
Because she can't do what she does when he turns up and goes, oh my god, it's a coincidence, what are you doing here? And she spins this yarn about her friend that lives around the corner.
Yeah.
She can't do that on the phone. She can't be like, oh, my friend lives around the corner. That's how I know your unique landline number.
No, my friend's phone number is one digit away from yours. I misdialed.
That's crazy.
Oh, what a crazy coincidence, you know?
Yeah, really putting the meat crime more rather than meat cute, I think.
It's processed meat cute. There, that's the joke.
Battery farmed meat cute.
It's not a free range meat cute. It's not corn fed.
Farm meat cute. Oh my god. Now if this was a Netflix drama today, you wouldn't see this scene of her finding his address. It would be a dramatic reveal at the end of the show that she'd manipulated the entire thing.
Oh god, yeah, it would be, you know.
Yeah.
And then she wouldn't reveal it until at the end of the series.
Yeah.
And then they'd show a flashback of her when she was typing on her laptop. She was actually typing gibberish.
she's salt burning him.
Yeah.
Bob and Rose by Emerald Fennell. So Bob invites her in for a cup of tea. Because he has pointed out that it's a weird coincidence, but he doesn't think that she's a weird stalker. I presume he buys her story, that she keeps spinning the yarn about her friend who was ill, but it's not that ill because she doesn't want Bob to worry.
Yeah.
She's just been around. Got her some magazines, and at the mention of magazines, Bob casually hides his gay porn on the kitchen counter.
Big ass Attitude magazine that he has.
He checks the answer machine, and he realizes, oh, one missed call, and then like there's no message, and so I'm like, who is this guy that he's like, what I need to do now is figure out who phoned this number so that I can find out which spam caller or whatever.
Is that just like an early 2000s landline thing? Because if someone called me and did not leave a message, I would not call them back.
Do you not? But now I think I always Google the number.
Yeah, I would Google the number.
But I suppose in 2001 you couldn't just Google a number that phoned you on the landline, so you just do a reverse call. I also think there's something about our generation not liking there's sort of phone anxiety, which I think is only a thing that's existed in the last decade. So I think there's no phone anxiety in 2001. You phone up that rando that's phoned you.
Well, having no call ID, if someone calls me and I don't already have them in my contacts, I just won't pick up if they haven't like texted me beforehand or then something.
He's like, you know what? I know I have a guest round and I should be focusing my attention on her, but instead I'm gonna like call back this random number just to see what happens. I'm wondering, is the reveal going to be that Bob knew what Rose was doing? You know, is that going to be the actual reveal? That, you know, we think that Rose is orchestrating things. Bob was double orchestrating things, you know.
Bob has been pretending to be gay his entire life to lure Rose in. It's a real long con.
It's like that one episode of Inside Number 9. Yeah. and so he calls the number, and then Rose's phone picks up, and she's like, what a crazy coincidence. There are so many coincidences going on. There's so many coincidences going on, guys. And then the jig is up. I
do appreciate that they didn't drag it out, because as we were just saying, like, a lot of shows these days that were gone for ages. I appreciate that the whole ruse, I think, lasts a total of about 5 minutes.
No, true. They don't drag it out. Also, we'll see that they don't drag out the Bob pretending to not be gay thing. At that point, she admits she's mad. She's like, no, I am mad. And he lets her just vent about her life to him. I think that's kind of ahead of a curve. I didn't know people were venting like this back in the early 2000s.
Yeah, I thought venting was only invented. I don't think I can have an Among Us joke like preserved on a podcast, so I'm just gonna stop there.
It's great though that we find out about her living situation, why she's still living with her mum at her age. When asked about her boyfriend, she says, well, I've not really got a boyfriend. Is that a red flag when we've seen her with a boyfriend, or more of an indication that she's not in a fantastic place with her boyfriend and her life?
Considering the power dynamics between men and women established earlier on in the episode, I think it is completely forgivable.
Yeah, like if that's your boyfriend, then yeah, honestly.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think she's well within her rights.
Absolutely. But Bob's already got plans to go out this evening, so he sort of has to shuffle Rose out. He's made a joke about how the upstairs of his house looks like Dresden because he's doing it up. And I did have to Google what that was a reference to, because I'm not smart.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a history nerd, I did know.
I just followed many a history meme page back in the day.
Yeah, me too.
For Owen and...
We should hang out.
I was going to say, for Owen and the people listening to the podcast, I actually have a degree in ancient history, but not modern history. I know absolutely nothing about modern... I technically have a classics degree, but I don't know anything about modern history, which is... I'm ashamed. I've tried listening to history podcasts.
But of course you're doing media production now, so that's all ancient history.
That's all ancient history.
Funny. And then the next joke that's made is about dog names, and how Bob thinks it's really funny that he would want a dog called Stan. To which Rose suggests, yeah, but I think the end is nigh, because then you'd be outside shouting the end is nigh.
I think nowadays Stan would be a pretty funny dog name.
I was going to say, for a gay man to have a dog called Stan.
A celebrity is walking past and you're yelling for your dog, Stan, you know.
No, but you'd have a friend. You'd have a really, really camp friend who'd go, we stand Stan. We stand Stan. Oh my God, can I come round to your house? We stand Stan.
Stan squared.
So then we move on to the end is nigh, which is a great dog name. Stop thief. And then Rose suggests looks like rain. And Bob thinks this is the funniest joke ever made, because he laughs and then he goes back inside after Rose has left and he keeps laughing. A bit later he's shaving, he's still laughing. Then he arrives at Canal Street and he's still laughing. And I'm sorry, but it's not that funny.
So that's down atrocious. That's a very okay joke.
That is like finding everything someone says funny because you're attracted to them.
Yeah.
That's what that is. You know?
Well, I think this Guardian review that I was the thesis of this was that the pair are attracted to each other because of their senses of humour, and so it's sort of the flip of what you just said. Is you don't think Bob would be attracted to Rose because he's gay and she's a woman, but there's something about her sense of humour that he's drawn to, and that causes the attraction. Supposedly, we'll see.
But anyway, we're out of Straight Land. We're back in Canal Street. The co-worker is there, as is
Supply teacher.
No, yeah, I've just forgot the name of Holly for a second there.
Oh, Holly. I thought Holly is technically also a co-worker, I believe. She was also in the unless she doesn't work at the school and just hangs out in the staff room.
She just intrudes on school grounds.
No, this is the thing, is I've been calling him the co-worker, but I should call him the supply teacher. That's a better descriptor. That's a better...
Yeah.
So, the supply teacher's there, and there's all this detective stuff of, like, trying to figure out if he's gay, because it's like, well, you know, what drink is he getting? He's getting a beer. Okay, that's not too gay. What if I mention more gay venues? Would he react well or poorly to that? And then he sort of reacts poorly to one. You're like, oh no, is that a thing? But then it turns out that he's like, oh yeah, well, I don't want to go to this place because I dated one of the bartenders, and so that would be awkward. And so it's like we finally get the goal. It's like we score. And once again, they didn't drag it out too long, which we love to see.
And so Bob and Holly, they go to the bar, and Bob is overanalyzing the fact that this guy touched his hip. He's like, oh, I'm in, I'm so in. And he's clearly very excited about the prospect of having sex with a supply teacher. And Holly's very, no, you're overanalyzing. You were just stood up and he was sat down. Naturally, that's where his hand was going to go. And the first time I watched it, I bought into what Holly was saying. I was saying, no, she has got a point. We will stay with Bob and Holly at the bar for a moment, if that's okay, before cutting back to Rose.
Of course. No. We need to analyse this. We need to get to the bottom of Holly's deal.
Oh, yeah, we do, because this bit's nuts.
Bob and the supply teacher carry on chatting, and it turns out that they've never seen each other at Canal Street before, which just seems mad to them. But it turns out that the supply teacher does go to Babylon on a Friday night. Queer as Folk fans are waving their hands in the air because we've heard about Babylon on a Friday. And so they're excited about this discussion. So they say, oh, we're going to go clubbing. At which point Holly says, I think if you guys are going to go clubbing, I'll head home. So say, fine, that's okay. Bob goes to the loo to check himself out. And then Holly checks a watch and goes, actually, you know what? I'll stay for one more. And then she starts spinning this yarn that starts off very small and grows and grows and grows. And basically says, yeah, Bob's fancied you the entire time he's known you. He started singing this song with your name in it. The whole sort of very straight acting, it's all an act. He's massively into his show tunes. He's so camp. He's so musical theatre. She calls him the P word. He's no longer looking for sex. He wants to settle down with a boyfriend. He's head over heels in love with you, even though he doesn't even know you.
No, yeah.
And it just becomes this massive thing. And all of a sudden you go, wait a second, that's not true. Holly is a liar.
Yeah.
When she started talking, I was like, is she trying to hype Bob up? But it's like a farce where she's actually making it worse, but you know, by accident because she's ditzy. But actually, no. We never underestimate women. Okay. She knows what she's doing.
Thank you for Russell for showing that straight men and straight women can both be toxic. That's the full spectrum. It's real representation.
And this then is my second behind the scenes tidbit that I've got from the writer's tale. When RTD started writing the script, in those first scenes in the school originally, Holly was the gay man's best friend and she was the comedy support and nothing more. And there was part of him that went, I don't know how I can make this story of Bob and Rose into 6 episodes. And he actually thought that the character of Holly was really dull. And then he started writing this scene and sort of the spirit of Holly took over his fingers and she just started lying. And it started, and all of a sudden he got excited by this and all of a sudden realised, I now know how I can make 6 episodes out of this drama, with Holly as actually the third protagonist of this show. So it should actually be called Bob and Rose and Holly.
Oh.
The promo pictures of Bob and Rose are Bob, Rose, and then Holly just in the corner, third wheeling.
Ooh, yeah. Holly Vance. Do you know any YouTubers with a surname Vance we can invite on?
Vance on Vance. I'll check my address book.
Yeah, or Heinz for that matter.
For me, it was giving. Do you guys remember Sketch from Skins? You remember that plot line? If you guys ever watched the original Skins,
I watched my sister watching it, but I just remembered the shocking bits. I didn't remember what actually happened. You know what I mean?
there's a bit. So there's a girl in that called Sketch, and there's a gay boy called Maxie.
Oh no, the stalker.
Yeah, and she's like, obviously he's gay and she's
Yeah.
straight, and is kind of like stalking him.
Yeah,
To be quite, and is like, I think she does like lie about him to other people and things like that. It's very much giving that kind of vibe. That's what I immediately thought
I know,
of.
because there's a bit in the second series where she like turns out that one of the Skins crew is sleeping with her, and then she's like, you know, I actually got help and I'm doing much better now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, good to know. Good to
Yeah,
know.
I think it was Anwar. I think it was Dev Patel that she ends up sleeping with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
would be.
I definitely get the sense she sort of got this ownership over Bob, and I don't think she likes the fact that he sleeps, like he has relationships with other people.
Yeah.
Because after they decide to go clubbing, so she says, "Oh, I'll stay for one more." Then they go out into the street, and Holly says, "Oh, I think I'll go." But then supply teacher goes, "If you're getting a taxi, I'll come with you. I've got a bit of a headache, sorry." And then Holly turns around and goes, "Well, actually, if you're going to go, I'm going to stay."
Yeah.
And then Bob's all forlorn. "Oh no, I was really excited about that." And then Holly goes, "Yeah, well, you'll always have me."
No, when she says you've got me, I was like, what's this? Qu'est-ce qui se passe ici maintenant? You know,
That's the big red flag that Holly doesn't like when Bob gets with other men. So you can only imagine what Holly is going to be like when he potentially gets into a relationship with a woman.
Oh God, yeah.
So all of a sudden I can see that drama. We've skipped out a couple of Rose scenes, so we can hop back and check out what's with her. I just really
well, no, I think when you've got parallel plot lines, it makes more sense to just cover them one by one, because you don't break up the flow. You know, like now we're sort of staring at each other a bit, just like, okay, we've got to talk about Rose. What's going on with Rose? You know, imagine if we had to keep doing that every time we switch between plot lines. But Rose goes to Andy's house apartment thing. He's just talking about stuff, and she's just like, yeah, whatever. And he's just wants to put on like a movie or something. He puts on like a really old.
It's one of the carry-ons, I think.
yeah, it's Carry On Screaming.
There's like a spare room that's got like stuff in it. Would they convert this if she moved in? You know.
Yeah, and then she drops the Dresden line as well. There's like a little sort of parallel. Yeah.
Yes.
No reaction.
No, that's the thing is when you said Dresden, I was like, was that earlier or was that later? But actually, it's both.
Yeah.
So.
And there's no reaction to the hilarious Dresden line.
He's like you.
I don't. Having Googled it, and I sit there thinking, could you write a line like that today, or would people go, ooh?
Yes, because it's been even more time since it happened.
I was gonna say, I think Dresden you could get away with. I think if you said like looks like Hiroshima, you might like that might sort of cross over. I think Dresden probably just about
that would go down like a lead balloon.
No, you could say Fukushima. There weren't many deaths. There were a couple, but not so many.
I was imagine someone walks into like your messy spare room and says it looks like Fukushima in here. You'd be like, what the hell are you talking about?
God, this looks like the Eurasian steppe after Genghis Khan.
Wow, it looks like the Tunguska explosion in here.
Commits arson. Well, it's like the Library of Alexandria. It's all a bit of a... I think I've said red flag a bit too much in this episode, and I don't really like it, but she's sort of...
There are a lot of red flags, to be fair. Yeah.
It's this realisation that she's not really in love with this man. She's not particularly... I don't think she particularly likes him either. She doesn't really get on with him. He suggests going out, and she's like, "Oh, I'll just stay in." She's quite apathetic, I reckon.
Yeah, she's definitely just sort of wandering around.
This sort of thinking, am I just going to have to like sort of settle into mediocrity when I inevitably move in with this guy in the next 2 weeks, you know?
Yeah, I mean, she meets like one man who's like vaguely sort of a little bit more interesting than every other man she knows, and she immediately is like, I must stalk and find this guy because he's the only man I've ever met who doesn't make me want to like die.
It's weakest gay warrior versus strongest straight warrior.
It highlights the fact how you can get locked into a bit of like a shitty relationship. You know, you think it's quite easy to leave, but then there's this looming threat of her mum's boyfriend's lease runs out in a fortnight. Her hand might be forced, and once you've moved in with someone, it's quite tricky to get out. And you would have thought it's easy, if you don't love someone, just leave them. But it kind of highlights that you can end up in these sticky scenarios.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One other thing that happens in this little sequence with Rose and her boyfriend is he farts. It's a small detail, but a bit of a crucial one.
And it's the most stock fart VFX ever. It's so funny.
Yeah, you're half expecting a bruh sound effect to just follow it,
It's very YouTube.mp3.
The Vine thud.
Now we can cut back. We can go back to Bob. When we left him with Holly in the club, he saw Jimbo, and he's had Jimbo before. That's so Stuart coded. So I will move on from Queer as Folk soon, or maybe I won't. And then we cut to the next morning, and that's when we get the bare bottom. The show Channel 4 coded
On ITV1, can you believe it?
Bob asks Jimbo, "Will you have a coffee?" And Jimbo says, "Well, I don't know about Jimbo, but my name's Jeff, and I'll have a coffee."
What I was thinking about what time do we know whether this aired pre or post Watershed? Must have been after 9 p.m, right, for them to show full bum.
Maybe it was on 9 o'clock. It's not sort of the most raunchy thing, but I imagine it would be. What is funny is that earlier in the episode we learned that Bob is very good at names, and so for him to get someone's name wrong.
And I suppose we're 2001, and we are. Section 28 has been repealed in Scotland, but it's not been repealed in England and Wales. So I can imagine another TV show centred around a gay man would probably not be around tea time where children could watch it.
Yeah.
I reckon.
That's true. It's interesting. This sort of thing, this kind of plotline would have still been vaguely controversial, I guess, back then. Whereas nowadays, it's a lot of the stuff that Bob gets up to is quite kind of tame, at least in this first episode.
Yeah. So Saturday, Bob is gone for a lovely walk. I love there's that shot of him walking down the street, and it makes me. It's such it's the epitome of a Saturday. I don't know what I'm trying to say there, but I just love the fact he's just not at work, walking down the street, and he phones Rose.
Yeah.
This is where we find out that Rose is still working on a Saturday. He's just phoned her up to vent in return for her venting.
Yeah, have a moan, because they didn't call it venting at that point.
They called it moaning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and they made the really prolonged joke about moaning at each other, and it's all right.
Yeah, it's well, you moaned at me, so can I moan at you? And it's because venting has less of a negative connotation. Venting can feel cathartic, it can feel fun, it can help you avoid getting detected. They're trying to normalise, but they don't have a language yet.
Almost snuck by me completely, that one.
And that was me thinking you're making a sensible point about how...
I made 2 sensible points and 1 little joke, okay?
You undermined yourself.
Just goes to show it's really all about sticking the landing.
Then I saw an infographic about how venting is what you call gossiping when you are trying not to sound like a bad person.
Yeah, or what about if you don't care about the feeling? Because gossiping, it's a bit bad, and you think, oh, I don't want them to. But what if venting is a bit more oh, I don't care if they find out.
It's centered on your own emotions.
Yeah, is that venting is about something that says involves you, as opposed to gossip can be completely external.
Yeah, exactly.
So instead of just doing a little phone call to moan, they decide to turn it into a thing and go out for dinner.
Now, this is where I'm really starting to question things. So, Rose asked Bob out for dinner, and they've just made these moaning jokes. Rose definitely fancies Bob. That's without of the 100%. What is going on with Bob? What he kind of knows that he's leading Rose on here. Surely, he's the one that phones her up on a Saturday for a moan. What's going on here?
I think he's almost in denial of his own, because obviously he knows that he's gay, so he's in his own mind, he's well, I can't be leading her on even though it looks like it, because I don't like women that way. So it's kind of he's in that sort of two minds kind of thing, I think, anyway.
Well, he's surely it's obvious.
I mean, I think so the show is about a gay man falling in love with a woman, and I'm wondering what if he is just a bit bi, not 50-50, but what if it's fine,
I don't think bisexuals, I've never met them. After we're done here, I'm just going to fade away.
Yes, you need to be our bi correspondent.
Yeah, they hadn't invented them in 2001, I don't think.
Well, that's funny, because there is a discussion in the dinner tape, just after the dinner, about bisexuality as a concept, and Bob denies that he's bisexual whatsoever, and RTD also is on record as saying that Bob is not bisexual, Bob is gay.
Yeah, it's based on something that actually happened to one of his friends, isn't it?
Yeah. Maybe this is something that I'm probably say at the end of the show, but I think the point of the show is to show that sexuality is loose. It's a spectrum. You know, we put ourselves in boxes, but they are just labels that are just words that can't capture our true feelings, I suppose.
Yeah.
And there was quite a bit of backlash from members of the queer community, basically saying that the show was somewhat biphobic and also homophobic, all at the same time.
Wow, he really can do it all.
But then before we get to the restaurant, Andy actually shows up at Rose's house and learns that she's gone out.
Oh yeah, we haven't even mentioned Rose's. Oh no, it's not her dad. It's the boyfriend again.
Yeah. It's a boyfriend, and like so they're discussing Rose, and they say that like, you know, oh god, you know, she's gonna sort of mess up this relationship, and then
And her mum like lies for her, like straight away says that she's going out with a work friend or something.
yes,
I mean, kudos to the mum for being really on it with the lying immediately.
Yeah.
But she really likes the boyfriend, which also is a bit of a further pressure on Rose that when your family likes your partner and you kind of want to get out of there.
no, yeah, exactly. Like, you know, he's got a good job.
Yeah.
He's got a stable income.
What is his job again?
Who knows?
Trying to remember where anyone works in this show.
It must be something if she likes him, right? That's generally how it works.
Meanwhile, Rose is actually sat around waiting for Bob to come to dinner. Bob is late, which means he has to pay. But you would have thought because he's a man, he'd have to pay anyway, because that's how dating works.
Well, it's this sort of strategic ambiguity. Really trying not to call it anything, trying to like sort of hint that it's not a date, you know, gaslight her into.
To be fair, she did stalk him, so a little bit of gaslighting back is fine. I think that's the foundation for a healthy relationship.
On the topic of whether or not they've acknowledged that this is kind of a date, she then proceeds to give Bob a full rundown of her dating history. And when I was like on the scene of, I was about to say when I was on the first date scenes, that sounds like I was filming on the Channel 4 show. I wasn't. You know, I was reading articles about things to say on a first date. That's really embarrassing. I can't believe I'm saying this.
No, you got to research this.
you should never mention your dating history in detail on a first date. And here she is doing it.
I mean, what's worse, having a lot or having a little? Asking for a friend.
That's such a vague way to put that. Well, the one thing, and then speaking of Bob, when like she asked him about his dating life, and he like very deliberately like steps around using pronouns about the people he's dated.
He doesn't believe in this woke pronoun usage, obviously.
Yes, he's never mind neo pronouns. He uses no pronouns.
I mean, my strategy for first dates is just sort of look into their eyes and be, okay, I'm just checking we have compatible autism. ADHD, that works too. Yeah.
My strategy is, so first of all, you stalk them while you're at work, and then you go to their house, you call their landline. It's quite involved.
Clearly it can work.
It does work, yeah. Or does it?
It doesn't have to work every time, it just has to work once.
Exactly. I'm the friend that Russell was writing about.
I don't know where we can even go from that.
I can't.
So anyway, a waitress comes...
Oh, wait, before the waitress comes over, this isn't funny. This is powerful. They talk about how Bob basically says anyone can fall in love with anyone, which I believe is the thesis of the show. At that full stop, the waitress can come over now.
Yeah. So what happens is she's picking up the leftover plate. She drops some food on Bob's shirt. It's making a thing of it, of like how to. So he says, "Oh, there was red wine in that sauce, so you need to add white wine."
White wine.
And like you need to take off your shirt so you can kind of wash it. And he's like, "Oh no, I don't want to." But he's like, "Oh no, you're wearing a t-shirt under it. It's fine."
You were talking earlier about Owen, about how we can see the inspiration from his past as a soap writer.
Yeah.
Here we can see inspirations from his past as a porn writer.
It is a bit, yeah.
And also she's saying, "Oh, please don't tell my manager. He's out to get me. He's looking for any reason to like fire me." And I'm just like, okay, listen. Many members of my family have worked in the service industry, and I respect all service workers. That's the real front line. That's the real thin blue line. But you need to talk slightly less because you're kind of escalating it. You just keep it vague. Just be like, "Oh, please, I'm begging you. Just keep this under wraps. Don't explain why, because that could go wrong. Because then someone would have dirt on you. You know, just a bit of advice." But anyway, eventually he takes off his shirt and he reveals a t-shirt. It's almost completely white. His t-shirt is wearing under, but it's got the tiniest phrase on it. in like Helvetica font that says, "I can't even think straight," and "think" is italicized. And I thought, wow, that is some sleek graphic design. I didn't realize they had such sleek graphic design before, like 2013.
And was it? Does he say it was like because someone got it for him? But I want to know, like, did they go to a shop and get it, or did they like custom print it?
He just says it was a jokey Christmas present.
I can't remember if he says that or not.
And it was the only thing that wasn't in the wash, which relatable.
Sure. I'm saying that about Bob, not about you, Louis.
maybe the only other options were even more egregious.
Well, yeah, it's like sometimes I will go out wearing a jumper and it'll get too hot, and I'll be like, "Fuck, I can't take my jumper off. I'm wearing my T-shirt that has the Doctor Who 60th anniversary logo on, and I want to be like acceptable in polite society.
Oh no!
So I will boil to death instead.
If I take this off, I'll reveal my T-shirt with an obscene design, and it turned out to be Doctor Who. Yeah, okay, Zach. Okay.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I mean, I legit have a T-shirt that's like, you know, the ones where it's like their text is like ocean is a I don't know if I'm allowed to swear, but it says like ocean is an F word.
Zach literally just said fuck.
So. Yeah, I did just.
Oh yeah, so you did. Yeah, it says ocean is a fuck, and then like has like carp. It's like one of those like carps fear me, like one of those.
Yes, world is a fuck.
Yeah, but it's like it says fish is a fuck or something. It's like I can only wear this under a jumper, or if I'm doing a wash and there's nothing else.
I have some T-shirts with vaporwave designs on them. I was really big into vaporwave a few years ago, and I think vaporwave needs. I keep saying vaporwave needs to come back again because it came back like twice, but I think it needs to come back for a third time.
Yeah, we can bring it back right now.
I also think it's worth noting that this is a bloody it's a tight fitting T-shirt.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's very tight. And the one on Bob, I mean, not our T-shirts.
I'm like, wow, this guy is not insecure about his body.
No,
good for him.
No.
Not that I know why I can tell that.
And this sort of the vibe changes, obviously. This woman at this other table starts cackling, starts howling, and I couldn't tell if she laughing at something else or is she laughing at this scenario?
I don't know, because it's such small text that
no one else can see it.
Just the font size just makes it hard to believe for me. I think it is just dramatic irony. I think it is just ambience.
I think it's to like bump up the tension a bit as well. Like it's hard for them to have like a sort of quiet one-to-one conversation about this when it's really loud in the background.
Yeah.
What is good is basically when Bob made the excuse, I was thinking, oh, is this going to be another he hides he's gay? And like it's going to keep sort of getting more and more outlandish with him hiding his gayness. He ends up like having sex with a man in front of her, but only to save the guy's life or something. Sucking the poison out of his. I'll stop there. But no. She clocks it at this point, and she's like, right, okay, yeah. If it was a loose fitting T-shirt, I could maybe give plausible deniability, but that is a tight T-shirt. So she's like, no, I know what's good.
Say whoever got that for him knows his measurements well. That's a good friend that got that for you.
Yeah, and so she says that she's gonna go. That like she's angry. Bob like didn't mention he's gay, and then we get a nice discussion then because they talk about coming out and what it means and how you kind of have to come out to every new person you meet.
You come out every day, it says.
Yeah.
Basically, they recap the plot of Heartstopper season 2.
I do also want to like go back. Like she is mad at him for not saying that he was gay. She did again stalk him, like his address.
Yeah.
On the sort of levels of like wrong things that have been done. Not mentioning you're gay is like very far below like what she.
Yeah, he just assumed she knew. I mean, come on, if you can get one bit of information, you can get every bit of information.
They do have this argument. I think she also does a bit of a microaggression because he suggests going for a drink and she says, well, Canal Street's that way. And I was like, that's definitely a microaggression. I'm sorry.
Oh, wow. Oh, God.
Yeah.
But they have this. The argument's interesting because when they first meet, Rosa points out that Bob can't lose an argument. So he's really fighting with her, and basically they're trying to both say that both of them did something wrong because he shouldn't feel bad for being forced to come out, for not saying that he's gay, but also she should have realised what was going on. He like points out. So you said earlier, Owen, which I've been holding on to this for the whole episode.
Who's your number one fan?
The conversation they have before the taxis about music doesn't drive the plot forward. But then Bob says, he points out here that I said I really like Harper Valley PTA, and he's a bit like, what straight man would point out the fact that they like Harper Valley PTA? Come on,
That's true.
You should know this. And that's when they get the heart-to-heart that you come out every day, which is a wonderful line.
Yeah.
And then we get the mention of bisexuality, where he says point blank that he's not a bisexual, although he did snog a girl once when he was 14. And then she has to admit that she does actually have a boyfriend.
Yeah.
And then he's a bit shitty. They basically, they have this big argument, and it deflates them being like, yeah, I think we're in a bit of a pickle here. We're probably both a bit in the wrong. And then she goes, shall we just go and get fucked at yours?
Yeah. They can never stay angry at each other. You know what I mean? Like, they're so drawn to each other. If anything happens, they're like, no, actually, no, I still want to spend time with you. But, you know, now we got to get drunk. That's the excuse.
And then we go back to Bob's, and we have a big drinking montage. I don't think there's much to say about a drinking montage, except that Bob does have a lot of booze at his house. Good for him.
And then it gets late, and it's like, well, I got to go now. Rose is like, well, I got to go now. Bob is like, oh, you could just, like, sleep over. It's fine.
Again, I've seen this video before.
Yeah, there's even a whole thing where, like, he tries to get her into the spare room, but she's like, oh, it's freezing. I guess we'll just have to, like, cuddle up in mine.
And he's like, why don't we top and tail? And she says, I don't see the point in top and tailing because the middle parts are in the same bit.
No, yeah, literally. I'm like, that's just the first step of 69ing, which is still...
Yeah, and I think it was so brave of them to show 69ing on ITV1 in 2000. That's really breaking the mold there, Russell.
And so they get snuggled up nice and cutely in bed. And then Rose has a sort of mini monologue about how farts signal the death of a relationship. So obviously the fart her boyfriend made earlier, the YouTube.mp3, was foreshadowing and was symbolic that her relationship is very much dead. Even though I completely disagree with her. You know, there's a whole theory about how she thinks that when the first time you fart in a relationship, the relationship is dead. There are other people that believe the first time you fart in a relationship is the watershed when the relationship becomes real.
Yeah.
And you're able to be real, your real selves around each other.
I would be inclined to agree with that for self-preservation purposes.
Depends. If they drop fart.mp3, that might end it for me. If it was like they did the most like stock sound effects possible.
I suppose it makes you go. My boyfriend farted pretty early on, and I was like, okay, this really tells me I really do love you, because that was disgusting. And I did think we were going to wait, but you didn't. I thought there was going to be like not just trumpets, but also like a whole fanfare when it happens as this big moment, and it's not a big moment at all, really. And then she realised she's not taken her pill. I think it's the pill, because she mentioned something about how it won't be any use for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, yeah. She's talking about the pill.
Yeah.
I like how there are certain things which get like the definite article. So the pill, right, is contraceptive, and then like unit on its own refers to alcohol.
Yeah.
Or it can refer to a person if someone's a unit.
Yes.
And then, you know what, I was going to say, make a joke about going to see the GP, and then it becomes the doctor. But...
Oh yeah, no, don't do that.
Owen probably thinks I'm a real loser.
I've got a sonic screwdriver right over there, don't you?
I got 6 behind the camera.
Oh, well, I've lost 2 or 3.
Well, I used to just hang out.
No, so Rose needs to take the pill. And again, this is really weird. The way that she just leans right over it. I mean, she thinks because he's gay that there's no need for personal space.
Well, no, that is literally it. Like, she feels like he's disarmed. It's not an issue. And so she leans over like it's nothing. And unfortunately, it is something hard in his pants.
I feel like this was it's also a bit of a not the fact that he's got an erection, but the fact that the way she invades his personal space. Again, another bit of a, I don't want to use the word microaggression again, but she's a little bit homophobic. I think she's a little bit.
She's a little bit problematic, Rose. Yeah.
Yeah.
She might have to cancel Rose.
It's just Bob going forward.
Bob and Holly.
Bob and relax. Yeah, Bob and Holly.
Bob and Holly, and it's like a tense psychological drama.
But I think she gets very uncomfortable at this. And the first time I watched it, I went, oh no, I want you to stay and be friends. But then really, I do actually feel for her, because she's had it's been a bit of a roller coaster with this man. She thought he was this nice straight guy. It turns out he's not. I don't know if she might feel lied. I think she probably feels lied to a little bit.
Yeah.
And then now there's definitely a sense of discomfort that he tries to excuse. And I think I think I do. I sympathise with him because as a fellow soldier, I understand that these things do happen. But also, you definitely feel for her discomfort, and I feel like she's quite right to want to be like, okay, I want my own space. I need to get out of here.
As I think once she finds out he's gay, it's sort of the first time kind of for what that she hasn't felt like a kind of a sex object around a man, and so she can let her guard down a little bit, and then feeling that is like kind of brings a lot of that back, and it's like it's almost like she's being a little bit, even though obviously he doesn't mean to. It's almost like she's being kind of objectified again. She's like back in that space, like with the taxi driver, for example.
Well, he says you might as well be a bag of meat. It's not about you, and that probably makes her feel worse.
No, yeah, it's even worse. It's like, okay, no. Well, at that moment, I'm like, yeah, get in that taxi, hun. So yeah, so she calls a taxi, and the whole time he keeps like doing the apologism. I say that because it's not apologizing. It's excuses, which is what apologizing is.
Excusing, yeah.
Funny etymological thing there. He's completely on the defensive, and eventually, the taxi arrives. They have to have their awkward goodbye, and this isn't a TV special. There's 5 more episodes, so.
Well, I was going to say it's not an awkward goodbye. It's a peck, and then a lean in for a snog, an unexpected snog. Is quite a big moment.
When the taxi pulled up, I thought it was going to be like the same guy.
Oh god!
And that would kind of prompt her to be like, "Oh no, I'm going to stay actually," and then that would lead into. Or that, I don't know, Alan Davis would spark him one or something.
Or it could just be like a fun cut to credits, and the next episode like starts sort of a day later where we find out what happened through exposition.
Yeah.
Also, because this was a call taxi and not a off the street, so it's safer.
She has to make an excuse to the taxi company about her friend going into labour, and we've seen a lot in Queer. We've seen in Queer as Folk, RTD loves to make his characters make random excuses over the phones about people going to hospital for some reason or another.
No, the NHS is overstretched by their imagination,
And just to finish it off, the last line of the episode, Bob runs in and phones Rose and says, "Do we want to go out for dinner?" And she says, "Do you want to?" And he says, "Yes." Already, end of episode 1, the hook is he's reevaluating the way he can feel towards this one particular woman.
It's a real will they won't gay.
You've been holding on to that this whole time, haven't you?
I thought of it in the last 5 seconds. Thank you very much. Okay. There were other lines I held on to, but I will not reveal what they were.
A professional through and through.
I will keep you guessing.
And that's episode 1 of Bob and Rose. Now, none of us have seen the rest of the show, so we don't know where it's going to go. I have a strong feeling of, as we've discussed, where the tension between Holly and Bob is going to go and how that's going to impact his newfound relationship with Rose. And I can imagine there's going to be drama with her boyfriend and her mum. I also know that we will meet Bob's mum. And from things I know about the show, we find out that Bob's mum is the #1 gay ally in Manchester. So I'm very excited for that.
And it'll be more people we recognise from other stuff.
Okay, yeah, Britain has 5 actors and they're all in this.
Yeah, exactly. And only one writer.
Oh god, when we get to Mine All Mine, we're gonna have a field day of recognising people from other things. Holy shit.
Oh, is that the one where the guy wins the lottery or whatever?
No, it's the one where the guy proves that he owns all of Swansea.
Oh yeah. What an illustrious title.
It's been an absolute wonder having you on.
Great. It's been wonderful being here. Thank you for having me on.
You really elevated the insights that we've had. We've actually had a proper discussion, I feel. You've indulged Louis in ways that I simply cannot.
I've been an accomplice to the bits. Yes.
Yes, I knight you, Sir Owain of the bits.
Thank you.
I don't know what else to say, Louis.
I think that's. I think because we're just going to have to see what happens, right?
Yeah.
I think we're not going to have so much to reflect on the first episode we haven't already said.
No.
Because there's nothing to link it back to. We've set the scene. Now you've just got to join us in 2 weeks. Is what you've got to do. Or right now, if it's been 2 weeks,
We'll have to have Owen back at some point, unless he has had a horrible time and is being too polite to.
Yeah, I'm just going to block both of you right after I hop off this. No, yeah, I'd love to come back.
Yeah, absolutely. We've loved having you. Do you want to plug some stuff?
I think I basically just plugged my, as you said, my YouTube is or Owen. What is my TikTok? My TikTok is or Eugene. Don't ask.
I want to ask.
Middle name?
No, it's because that is the meaning of my name. And one time I looked up the meaning of my name in Latin, and all it said was or Eugene, and I thought that was very funny. Like years ago. That's the reason. My middle name is not Eugene. I haven't been able to recreate it since, but that happened one time.
What?
I think because the Latin version of Owen is Eugene.
Right. Okay.
I think.
I actually. I don't want to be like I speak Latin.
Yeah, no, I knew your degree.
If you do the next bit in Latin, we'll forgive you.
So it seems from a Google search that Owen is of Irish and Welsh origin, meaning well-born, and then Eugene is Greek for you, and then Genos, meaning well-born.
Oh, right, okay.
So there you go. It's actually Greek.
I know Louis comes from Ludwig, which is warrior.
Whoa.
Warrior, son of David.
Nice. So I'm well-born son of David.
You've got 2 surnames, so that would take too long to get into.
Yeah, no.
So, you can follow us at Davis on Instagram. You can follow me at Louis on Air on Instagram, Louis on the Air on Twitter, even though I stopped using it. And Zach, do you have anything you want to plug?
I've decided to start a portfolio of every serious thing that I have ever done and ever will do, and it's really looking forward to all my future projects. And so you can follow me and my future very serious projects, by the way. This is not, I'm doing some like very serious work, and so I want to collate that all together into a portfolio. So you can follow me on all platforms at In a Bit.
Bye everyone.